Imagine a world where men simply stop. They stop sending the first message, stop planning the dates, stop proving their worth, stop performing, not out of anger, not out of resentment, just exhaustion, a quiet withdrawal, a collective silence. What would happen if tomorrow morning every man on earth woke up and decided the game wasn't worth playing anymore? Not a movement, not a protest, just the absence of effort. The hunters stop hunting, the pursuers stop pursuing, the performers leave the stage. What happens when men stop playing the attraction game? It starts with silence. The DMS stop, the double texts disappear. The "Hey, how was your day?" messages that were never really about the day, they vanish. Dating apps see a 40% drop in male activity in the first week, then 60, then 80. The algorithms panic. Profiles sit dormant. Matches expire unread. Women notice immediately, not because they were particularly invested in any individual man, but because the background hum of male attention, the thing they'd grown so accustomed to they stopped noticing it was there, goes silent. The likes, the comments, the compliments, the validation infrastructure that hummed beneath every photo, every post, every appearance, gone, and in its absence, something uncomfortable emerges. Awareness. For the first time in years, many women are forced to initiate, to pursue, to risk rejection. And they discover it's harder than they imagined. Restaurants notice next. Reservation rates drop. Men were always the ones booking the tables, planning the evenings, orchestrating the experiences designed to impress someone who was only half interested to begin with. When they stop, the economy of courtship slows, then stalls. Bars, clubs, dating coaches, relationship therapists, fashion industries built on men trying to upgrade themselves to be good enough. They all feel it, a contraction, a withdrawal of participation. Social media platforms see engagement rates plummet, because 40% of engagement was always men liking, commenting, boosting content they thought might earn them a glance. When that stops, the algorithm notices. Influencers notice. The attention economy, built on men giving and women receiving, destabilizes, not because the women weren't interesting, but because the exchange was always lopsided. And when one side stops feeding the machine starves. But why? What drives men to this point? The answer is layered, complex, but it starts with something simple: burnout. Not the kind from working too hard, the kind that comes from investing emotionally in systems that don't invest back, from giving effort without reciprocity, from being told over and over that you're not quite good enough, not tall enough, not rich enough, not funny enough, not mysterious enough, that you need to be more, always more. And when you finally become more, the goalpost moves. Again, modern men exist in a paradox. They're told to be vulnerable, but punished when they show weakness, told to pursue, but labeled creepy when they do, told to be confident, but called arrogant when they are. The rules are contradictory, shifting, unknowable, and the penalty for getting it wrong isn't just rejection. It's public humiliation. Screenshots, group chats, viral mockery. The economy of attention has warped attraction into something transactional. Dating apps turned romance into a marketplace where everyone is both product and consumer. Swipe left, swipe right. 500 options in every city. Why settle when the next profile might be better? The illusion of infinite choice creates a psychological trap. No one is ever good enough because someone theoretically better is always one swipe away. Men feel it acutely. They're competing not just with the men in the room, they're competing with every man who's ever existed. Every actor, every athlete, every filtered photo, every romanticized fantasy, and the competition is exhausting. You improve your photos, write a better bio, send a clever opener, get ignored. Try again, ignored again, ignored. The rejection isn't personal, it's algorithmic, but it feels personal. And when it happens daily, for months, for years, it erodes something foundational. Not confidence, hope. So what do men do instead? They build, not for someone else, for themselves. The man who spent weekends crafting perfect date itineraries starts crafting furniture in his garage. The man who obsessed over his physique to be attractive realizes he enjoys the gym more when it's not about being seen. The energy that was burning in the anxiety of "am I enough" gets redirected into projects that don't require validation. Businesses, art, music, fitness, friendships deepen. Male friendships especially. The ones that were always there but took a back seat to the pursuit of romantic attention. Men start investing in each other, not as competition, as community. They realized that the brotherhood they'd been neglecting was the thing they needed most. Shared hobbies become shared meaning. Gym sessions, hikes, late-night conversations about purpose, about failure, about the parts of themselves they've been too afraid to examine. Financially, they become dangerous, not to anyone, but to the systems designed to extract their resources. Men stop spending money trying to impress. The luxury car purchased to signal status sits unsold on the lot. The designer clothes, the expensive dinners, the concerts and trips and gifts all bought to demonstrate worthiness lose their appeal. Because when you're not trying to prove yourself to someone, you stop buying proof. The money gets saved, invested, used to build freedom instead of displays. And when men control their resources without the pressure to spend them on courtship rituals, their economic power consolidates silently, invisibly. The solitude stops feeling like loneliness. It starts feeling like peace. The apartment that once felt empty starts feeling like sanctuary. The quiet that once screamed you're alone starts whispering you're free. Free from rejection. Free from performance anxiety. Free from the constant measurement against impossible standards. The consequences ripple outward in ways no one anticipated. Women, for the first time in generations, find themselves in the position men occupied for decades pursuing, and it's uncomfortable. They message first, get ignored, message again, still ignored. The dynamic they assumed was natural men pursuing them reveals itself as a choice men were making. And when men stop making that choice, the expectation collapses. Some women adapt. They learn to initiate, to take risks, to face rejection with grace. Others don't. They wait, expecting the old pattern to resume. It doesn't, and in that waiting something corrosive grows. Resentment not at men, at the absence of men, at the silence where attention used to be. Competition between women intensifies. When male attention was abundant, women could afford to be indifferent. Now it's scarce valuable, and scarcity creates competition. The dating economy collapses. Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, they all see the same data. Male users are deleting accounts. Not to other platforms, just gone. The companies panic. They release features to incentivize men to return. Free boosts. Better algorithms. Nothing works. Because the men aren't leaving because the app is bad. They're leaving because the game is rigged. And they've stopped playing rigged games. Investors pull funding. Platforms consolidate. Some shut down entirely. Social media shifts. Instagram sees a 30% drop in engagement. Not because women stop posting, but because the audience of men who are liking, commenting, inflating, validating has left the building. The attention economy, built on male thirst, dehydrates. Influencers who built careers on being looked at find fewer people looking. The ones who remain discover they need to offer substance, not just aesthetics. Because when men stop rewarding beauty with attention, beauty stops being enough. This isn't a story about men versus women. This is a story about what happens when a culture builds intimacy on a foundation of performance instead of presence. We created a world where love is a transaction, where attention is currency, where vulnerability is risk managed and attraction is gamified. We turned human connection into an optimization problem. Swipe, match, message, date, evaluate, discard, repeat. We convinced ourselves that more choice equals better outcomes. It doesn't. More choice equals paralysis. Endless comparison. The tyranny of potential. We worshipped aesthetics and forgot intimacy. We celebrated the surface and neglected the depth. We built entire industries, beauty, fashion, fitness, social media around making people feel inadequate so they'd buy the fix. And it worked. Until it didn't. Until people realized the fix wasn't fixing anything. It was just making them more exhausted. We normalized flakiness, ghosting, breadcrumbing, benching. We gave cute names to cruel behaviors and pretended it was fine because everyone was doing it. We built a culture where commitment became the exception and disposability became the norm. Where people were options. Where I'm not ready meant I'm not ready for you. Where maybe meant no, but I want to keep you on standby. We told men to be providers but mocked them for wanting traditional partnerships. Told them to be emotional but punished emotional honesty with rejection. Told them to pursue but called pursuit harassment. The contradictions weren't accidents, they were features. Keep men confused, keep them striving, keep them spending, keep them competing. Because confused, striving, spending, competing men are profitable, peaceful, content, self-sufficient men are not. And now the men have figured it out. Not all of them, but enough. Enough to shift the equilibrium. Perhaps the most radical thing a man can do in the modern world is nothing. Not in defiance, not in protest. Just in peace, to exist without performing, to be present without proving, to love himself before seeking someone else to do it for him. The world doesn't need more men competing. Doesn't need more displays of status, more flexing of wealth, more demonstrations of worth. The world is saturated with performance, drowning in noise. Maybe what the world needs, what women need, what men need, what intimacy needs is silence. The kind of silence that comes from men who are whole, who don't need validation because they've validated themselves, who don't chase because they've stopped running, who don't perform because they've nothing to prove. And maybe in that silence, something real can finally be heard. The quiet voice of a man who knows who he is, who's built a life he's proud of, who's ready for connection not because he needs it to feel complete, but because he has something complete to offer. That man doesn't play the game, he doesn't need to. He's already won.